You are now tuned into the 2-Minute Warning, a live stream community conversation pertaining to social and political issues and how we can collectively resolve them. Powered by the Westside Gazette.
Hello, and welcome to the 2-Minute Warning. The 2-Minute Warning is powered by the Westside Gazette newspaper, Broward County's oldest African-American family-owned newspaper. I want to begin by saying happy 2025. I am your host, Perry Busby, and joining me around the table is the publisher of the Westside Gazette, Mr. Bobby Henry, and Mr. David Wright. My brothers, how are you doing? Happy 2025.
Yes, sir. Happy 2025. Well, as we drag across that line, telling all to get here, we're glad to be here. Find it hard to say that I'm terrific and getting better. I'm prayerfully reminded that this too shall pass. So, good evening, Perry.
Good evening, and glad to be alive in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And excited about this year, Perry. That big question mark at the end of that 2025 just lets us know that there's a lot in store. We just don't know what it is, but there's a lot in store for 2025. I got questions.
You mean we're not coming in 2025 jubilant? Come on. We're not going to dance in the midst of our pain. We're not going to rejoice in the midst of what looks like our sorrow. Come on. We're going to rejoice.
We're doing the same thing a whole lot of other people are doing. Trying to make it till we make it. Right. No, this
That's
is,
for sure.
Rope-a-dope. Come on.
Yeah.
Go around and find out. This is his whole year.
Well, I said this was going to be a reckoning, and hey, and we're in the reckoning. I mean, on several fronts.
Oh,
it's reckoning time.
Yeah, you're right. Mother Nature ain't joking either.
No,
man.
No, and let us not. And before we move on, let us at least take a moment to acknowledge in prayer the families and the individuals in California whose lives have just been, some have been totally turned, not just upside down, inside out, but they got to start all over. And it has impacted, regardless of economics, it is impacting this city all over. I mean, from the health disparities to everything else. The wind is now impacting the neighboring communities, and so those with respiratory conditions are having it hard. And in some cases, some people are being triangulated. It's hitting them from all over.
Repercussions. I know. We some of us don't like to biblicalize, if that's such a word, but to bring the biblical perspective into what is transpiring now, it really makes you wonder. It won't be water, but fire the next time.
Okay.
This is just a little portion of it, a little part of it. But man, the magnitude of it, that's what had me baffled, if you will. Like we were just saying, man, ambers get caught up in 85 miles an hour wind. Fiery darts coming at you.
Yeah.
And with the dryness in that area, the meteorologists were saying, with the lack of rainfall and not being able to burn off all of that kindling out there, it's just a powder keg waiting to explode.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's what we're seeing. So
Yeah.
again, our prayers to those in harm's way, those that have already been impacted, and we pray that others are able to get out safely and
Yeah.
find a way.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being a homeowner and you grab your water hose to run to put the fire out? You turn the water on and no water comes out.
Right. Yeah. Well, they were explaining that earlier. It was just that it was such a strain. That's why they couldn't deploy the uh, I guess the helicopters or whatever that have the water to put out those that you usually see in the forest fires. It was because there was really just no water in the system because everyone was sort of using it all at the same time, and
No
so
water, no pressure, no nothing.
yeah, yeah. And I think the biggest thing is in this case, because as they say, usually when they say California, you think the you know the landscape, the wooded areas, but this was Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get it twisted. I mean, and there are several parts. I mean, to understand there are small cities that make up Los Angeles, but to consider this to be, I mean, my children who are there, my children and grandchildren who are not in Los Angeles, but I think a little northeast uh, of LA, they've been impacted because the high winds cut the power off, and they have not been able to restore electrical power just because of the sense of all the things that are going on with the fire. So again, you have people who are being impacted by the fire who are not directly, in the line of sight. And so, my kids have had to find, uh, places to stay.
Mhm.
Uh,
And I
yeah,
was listening to some news today, and of course they want to find a blame, some place to place the blame. So they were talking about uh, the fire department's budget being cut, putting the money elsewhere, and so they're trying to find the blame. Now, if I'm not mistaken, is it Karen Bass who's the governor out there?
yeah, Karen
So
Bass.
trying to find the blame. hmm
Mayor.
Mayor, I'm sorry, mayor.
Yeah,
Yeah. So trying to. So here you. I'm just looking at it, and God
yeah.
forbid that. Yeah. Place blame.
And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, Bobby, that
Yeah.
on the national media, it's only being summarized in the sense of that Mayor Bass reduced their budget. What's not being said is that she reduced the mid-level staff budget to put more firemen on the beat. They were so top heavy with middle management, so she reduced some of that. So to say that she reduced their budget, yeah, she reduced, she reduced it, but yet put more money back into actual firemen. And again, you don't hear that unless you're listening to it to some of the local news. And then there was also the other thing in the sense that they're on the national level, they're trying to say that the mayor uh, was out of the city as if somehow she knew this was going to happen. She was doing some foreign diplomacy, getting ready for the Olympics, and her travels had her out of the city when this happened, and she came and she rushed back. But again, the news media is saying that the people are upset because she wasn't there. And again, I just think that the media, we really have got to do a better job because we incite people to just want to find fault.
And Perry, and I'm segue into, I had the opportunity to speak at Miami Central High School yesterday to their journalism students, about 40 to 50 students. And one of the things that I stressed, and I might have done it in character of how I can be, I'm stressing something. The fact that you say you want to be a journalist, let me tell you what that means if you don't know. It's not about glitz and glamour. You on TV or you doing this and you see the finer parts. But you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet to tell the truth. You can't sidestep this thing. You got to be man or woman enough to stand on your own 2 feet and tell the truth. And this is indicative of what is being reported from a national news level concerning this horrendous thing that's happening in California right now. Spinning, trying to write the narrative to make anybody look bad. Yeah.
Or what they say, clickbait. That clickbait, anything to get people to click on it.
It's going from bleed to lead to clickbait.
So you guys know that these national media networks, these invitations, that's what they're all about. And the so-called journalists, hosts, are strictly hosts. They don't have any say-so in the text and what's given to them, what's handed to them. And there are several times you can look at them and see them cringing because they know they ain't feeling what they got to say. But that's what pays the bills. And I agree with you in that conversation with our future journalists. Because they're gonna have to make a decision.
Gotta make it. You have to make a decision. What else? What else is happening, man? This fire thing is.
Oh man, we got
can engulf us and burn us up?
We got so much going on. Nationally, we're going to be having a day of service celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. and that's coming up nationwide around the country, and we just want to get ahead of it and encourage everybody to find the local activities that's going on in your community. Again, we'd like to continue to promote the narrative of who Dr. King was and what he was about. And the fact that it's a holiday, if you know Dr. King, technically it's not a holiday, it's a day of service. It's how do we give back? How do we give to the least, the less, and the left out? And there's a lot of that going on in this country. So find a day, find something that you can do to either pay it forward, give it back, or help someone that's in need. Whether it's sharing wisdom and knowledge, but it's important.
And you can find that information out. Of course, you can go to the Westside Gazette, www.thewestsidegazette.com, or and I'm sure that there's a plethora of information out there surrounding these days of service. I know that Ms. Joy Vesey, who is the chairwoman of the MLK committee here, that they are doing a lot of stuff. In particular, the prayer breakfast, which is Monday, January the 20th. I was asked to give a prayer. Unfortunately, I won't be able. I'll be not in place, if you will, so I can't do it. But there are a lot of activities going on. If I could jump over to something, and I want to touch on this briefly. Lord knows I love HBCU. I love them to the bottom of my heart, so much so that I went to 3 of them. I was introduced to an HBCU at Bethune-Cookman University. From Bethune-Cookman, I went to the highest hill in Tallahassee, A&M University, one of the best, if not the best. And then Florida Memorial University is where I received my degree from. So it bothers me when an HBCU has been invited to participate in the inaugural presidential inauguration. Now, it has been said that this university, the Green Machine Marching Machine, from what's that, Mississippi Valley State, they have been invited to the inauguration to partake in the parade. This is not their first one. They were there for the Richard Nixon inauguration. Now they're been invited to come back. Now that doesn't bother me. I think that in them celebrating their 75th anniversary, that would be a tremendous milestone for them to participate in such an event. However, for them to have to set up a doggone GoFundMe page to get to the inauguration of a Donald Duck Trump, that's what bothers me. Is that they have to go set up a GoFundMe page to make their way to the inauguration of a president that hopefully will be a convicted felon by the time he has a chance to sit down in that seat behind that oval desk again. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, he's not a convict yet, but you said the convict didn't send a check?
The convict didn't send a check.
And now they have to hook a crook, get there the best way they can?
GoFundMe. The Mean Green Marching Machine has started a GoFundMe effort to raise money for the trip.
So that's room and travel there and back, room and board.
Room and board. I think to the tune of, let's see what they said, $350,000.
Now, he still got money from the first inauguration, ain't he?
Maybe he's paying his legal fees with that.
Oh, okay. All right.
But now, and you.
So yeah. So they really want to go that bad.
They really see. This is what this reminds me of, and I'm saying this. I remember when Tom Joyner had this thing about let's show how much money black people spend at these stores. When Tavis Smiley was talking about no dictate, no urban dictate. So they wanted us to go into these stores to spend money to show how much money we spend. So I got to pay to be dehumanized. I have to pay to be insulted. Is that what you're asking me to do? And now, Mississippi Valley State Mean Green Marching Machine has to raise monies after they've been invited to go to this inauguration. Now that's a great institution. I'm not taking anything from that.
I just have questions.
What's the question, Mr. Buck?
Who wants to go? Who really wants to go? I mean, who has skin in the game for this? I can understand it. I can understand the students wanting to go. I really can. If you in the band, you want to perform. I understand it. But who really is pushing to go? And for what purpose? I mean, I just think we just have to be, I'm for representation, and I definitely don't want to see, these students have to, if they really want to go, if the students really want to go. I think it's a teachable moment about what sacrifice means, about what it takes to. What does it mean for us as a people in this day and age?
Man,
so I'm asking who really wants this, because who's influencing the kids to go or whatever, because I mean, it's not like Mississippi is the bastion of upward mobility.
And what is one of the poorest cities in states in the union? But if I can read, let me read what the president says. It is an opportunity to showcase our legacy, celebrate our culture, and invest in the future leaders of our community. This participation allows students to engage in the peaceful transition of power and gain global exposure while celebrating the university's 75th anniversary.
That
Now,
sounds good.
don't it sound good?
That sounds so good.
Man,
but come on, guys. Let's think back now. HBCUs, historically black colleges, always went on the road. They were on the road to raise money.
Hmm.
So if the president is saying this is an opportunity for us to pay it up front to get it on the back end, this may be a way for them to get additional promotion. I'm trying to think like the president now. But no, historically, the fifth Jubilees went around the country singing. And they sang to raise money for the college.
Right.
Yeah,
But where did that go? Where did that go to? Where did that go?
Oh, well, they went to black churches.
Right, they went to black churches.
Yeah.
They went to black churches.
Yeah.
And maybe a few white ones who were liberal enough, who I'm,
Culturally sensitive. Jewish people.
They would.
They had their backing.
They would.
But then they had to go. Well, I'm sure they sold a few sweet potato pies and some chicken dinners. You know, I'm sure they did that.
Stayed with congregants. You know.
Yeah.
In this day and time, and again, and Malcolm Black and you other graduates from Mississippi, Valley State. Am I right? Yeah. And you band members, please don't hate me for this.
What are they telling people to evacuate?
But understand, that's somebody, Perry, that's on your end. Yeah. But oh man, I lost my train of thought.
Well,
don't hate me for this, but understand the history that's being used right about now. You know, the same trickery that Walmart is using. You get rid of DEI, but you bring on some other black folk to say that you're doing this. I mean, it's a game. It's one hell of a game that's being played, and we're being the pawns in this game. So I mean, and again, Lord knows I love HBCUs, you know, but I don't want to see us belittle the rich history that slaves build these institutions. Slaves build, like Savannah State. Slaves build these institutions. And now we're about to be placated. Lord have mercy.
Yeah. I mean, and I can understand, you know, part of this is your presence may bring additional resources, and that's always the cause. I mean, within our institutions, is that yes, we can understand the cause, but at the end of the day, our endowments are pretty much the poorest.
Why can't we get it up front? Why do we have to wait till the back?
Well, can't we just have real talk? And maybe that's kind of where we keep missing this, is that we don't have real talk. I can understand the president saying that. But then where does the real talk moment happen so that we understand that, okay, prayers, this is a part of your strategy. And I don't have to take this leap of faith that you have a strategy that's going to empower the students who you say this is for. So when do we have some of these real talk moments? And I've come into 25. I really am. I'm sick and tired of all of this because we don't talk. And this ain't Broward. This is not Houston, not Beaumont. This is black folk. We've really just abdicated talking to ourselves.
Hold up. Did you just say Beaumont?
Yes, I said
Beaumont. Wasn't Beaumont just in the news?
Yes. Yes, it was.
And if we gonna talk
and I don't say I say Beaumont because of I have Beaumont pride. But not proud of what has happened. The incident in New Orleans, and that young man being from my hometown, is yet just another another blow for the residents there because they are trying to change. I mean, we're Beaumont. We the
Yeah.
home. We the home of Bubba Smith.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Brother.
Babe Dietrichson's, the Harriers.
Yeah.
Too. We.
And Perry, I must say this, and I was being facetious. This is not
Yeah.
intended.
No,
And listeners and viewers, please understand, this is not a joke at that tragic incident that
Yeah.
occurred. So I must say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
wow.
no, and I didn't take it that
I
way,
know it.
Bobby.
I know it.
It's just
I know
that
it.
Yeah, no, we
I
want to
mean,
make
and
sure
if
the
I
viewers
can,
understand.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
if I can shed some light on how this really hit the residents of Beaumont, uh, this one just happened to be the peak of maybe about a series of 3 or 4 incidents, starting with a horrific incident that happened on Christmas Eve and ended up with just our young people being involved. And it was just it really was a series of, I think, maybe 3 or 4 blows of incidents that did not get to that level, but yet devastated our community,
Mhm.
to its core.
And all of this, in all of this conversation, and to our viewers, good evening and welcome, and thank you for joining us. I see Karma, I see Pam, I see Betty, and I see Bobby, Donna from Virginia. Thank you for joining us, and we wanted to just have a conversation as much as we could around. And we use the cocoon and the peanut to galvanize this conversation because they both mean so much, and we wanted to touch on a lot of subjects, and one of the main ones, and Perry began to hit on it when he talked about communications.
Mhm.
We do not have that hard, honest to goodness, gut checking conversation with each other. We don't do that. We point the finger, we shirk our shoulders, and we run to hide, as opposed to having that honest conversation about who we are, where we are, and where we're going because of the situation. Now,
Well, there's a lot to be said there, and it's a how-to moment. It's a teachable moment. How do we have that conversation? So many times we're so reactionary that we just blurt out what we don't like, and that's no way to. What Grandma Louise used to say: if you want
you
to
catch
catch
flies
flies, you use some honey.
or something.
So all we're saying is let's work on the how-to. Uh, I had an opportunity over the holiday to hear about a family that every Sunday they get together and they come together as a family and they start out by edifying each other, telling each other what they like most about them and how they've impacted their lives.
You sound like you got that Brian Doolin home.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah, this is what he shared with
Yes.
me. And then he said, because now, sometimes our families are spread apart. So one might be in Chicago, one might be on the West Coast, and one might be in here in Florida. But what they started doing is just having that kind of conversation to start with. And it got to the point where it caught on so that they look forward to it every Sunday. They're there to now talk about the goodness of what they've learned and how important it is to be a part of family. And then from there, you can work on things that you're not as good as you want to be yet, right? And we can't just continue to pass it back. Oh, that's just how they is, or that's she always been like that. He always been. No, we got to do better, and to the point where it's not a fight when we do come together and try to communicate. So maybe we might need to bring Vern on one show and let him share what they've been doing. But I've got to tell you, it amazed me to the point that that's something I want to engage my family in.
And this is not putting anybody's business out. We all, a lot of us have come from a dysfunctional family.
Absolutely.
You know, so when we have the opportunity to heal those wounds, and we do it, and it produces good fruit, you know, that's the beauty of it. We may start off raggedier than a mango seed,
A turpentine,
turpentine stringy at that. But once we're done, we're unified. And I just want to bring attention to a situation. There's a young lady, I think she lives in Deerfield. She is of Jamaican descent. Uh, there was a tragic situation back in Jamaica where several family members were killed. And the family had spread out all the United States, Canada, everywhere. And they didn't have the money or the wherewithal to bury the family or even get back to Jamaica. So Miss Tamika Hamilton, who is legally blind, raised monies to get several family members to be able to go back to Jamaica and bury their loved ones at different times. They couldn't bury them all at the same time, but that's a family, and that's what families do. They take care of each other. You can read more about the story in the West Side Gazette. A beacon of hope, how one woman's love and determination uplifted a family in tragedy. Check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, great story. Great story.
Yeah.
Great story.
I didn't mean to cut you off. You was on the roll, man.
No. I think we said that, and like I said, we got to get our dear brother on the show, and I know he has a lot to share. I'm sure he'd be excited to share more about that. We even actually have a comment from Sister Lumpkins, Betty Lumpkins, who totally agrees. She said, you know, my mother was living in our house was the stomping ground for all of our families every Sunday, everyone after church. You know, and again, that edification, you know, we're here to uplift one another. We're here to speak the value of them, you know, because each and every one of us are so valuable, whether you want to agree or not. There's value in all of us. And to speak that, it only motivates people to strive to do their best, to be better, to live up to what you're saying they are.
That's great. I just reflect back, and I see some of my family members on here. So when I say we used to have Sunday meals, we would eat at each other's house, you know, different times. I think we need to get back to that. And I also remember I used to go fishing every Wednesday over in Belgrade when I delivered the papers. And I would bring the fish back here at the office, would actually clean it, and on Friday, anybody who wanted to eat fish would come by. And that was community. You know, that's what we did, folk. That's how we were able to know each other. I mean, you know, and we've gotten away from that period, like you said. We don't talk, man. You know, we hurt, but we do not talk and share our hurts.
Yeah, I mean, and that as well, Bobby, as and David, is that in our communication, because it really is, it's really hard for us to connect to a generation that doesn't have any frame of reference for what we talk about.
That's our fault.
And it has moved, and it has moved and continues to move at such a swift pace that almost talking about something back then is almost equivalent to talking about something that happened irrelevant last week, and how we've kind of become to this point. And I agree that our communication has to, I guess, maybe not so much talk about, well, we need to get back to that, as much as we need to bring the essence of that.
And Perry, if I can add,
such that they put it into their dynamic. I just on a personal note, this was the first year. This past Christmas was the first year my wife and I had together, and it was just us, no children. I mean, we talked and we did a little Zoom, but we weren't there. and to hear their response. Because I have grandkids, and the grandkids was loving Christmas, but the parents was saying my kids was like, I don't like this dynamic. We got to change this. We got to do something. I don't know what Christmas got to be like or whatever. And I was like, you can make it whatever because you making the memories for your children. I've done it for you. I've set a template for you. We don't have to continue to make this so. I'm gonna use a nasty word that we love. Tradition. We become so holding to tradition that it's almost strangling. And I swear, if you read scripture, God is always dealing with the Israelites about their tradition. He hated their traditions. I don't care how much they said they were for him. He said, I hate it. And I think we kind of find ourselves like this now because we trying to hold on to some traditions that's just not hanging on. And I think that's the reckoning, and it is. It has to bring us back. I think in the spiritual sense, in the physical sense, and definitely in our dialogue. Our dialogue can't be in the '60s talking to young kids now who are spending the majority of their life on some digital device. I got to compete. I got to do something different to engage them.
That's a good point. I see one of our viewers, Camille. Is that Camille? Am I saying her name correctly? Camille, Perry, just hit on what you said. She said they were taught to compete, not collaborate.
She's right. She's right.
If I can do this, if we can put the flyer of this week's show up, I want to just explain it. Then we're gonna let you get into the thing. Okay, you see that the relationship between the seen and the unseen, the unique and the plain. And the green is a cocoon, and then of course it's the peanut. If you know anything about a cocoon and what it does and how it helps embrace, it keeps us safe. It protects us. It could be your home. It could be your friends. It could be your network. It keeps us safe. And then it helps us to change, right? To transform, right? And then it hides the big changes until we're ready to evolve to where we are. And then the peanut. Now that has several symbolic issues. In my case, when I did this, the peanut grows in the ground, right? You can't even see it, but it nourishes the ground, and it has over 100 and 200 uses that it can be used for. And it also represents, it just happened to coincide with one of our presidents who were laid to rest today. And we have some local tie-ins with President Jimmy Earl Carter. James Earl Carter. Yeah. Take you, man. Go with it.
Well, again, the peanut, his daddy was Peanut Farm, World War One veteran, and they saw and reaped the benefits of that great fruit, that nut. Like you said, it's underground, it nourishes the ground, it has so many different uses. Now, we can't talk about the peanut without talking about George Washington Carver. But again, tonight it's about James Earl Carter, our 39th president. And the impact it had on me and my family to start with was he was the first president I voted for. I became 18 back in 1976. I'm just telling my age, but I was eligible to vote. And in my family, everybody voted. So it wasn't a question. Later, I found out after my sister had gone to college and got her master's and worked for the archives up in Washington, D.C. after President Carter left office, she was one of the first persons he selected to move his presidential library to Emory College in Atlanta, Georgia. So my family had firsthand. My sister worked for him. She invited my grandmother to go up to the farm in Plains, Georgia. 4th of July, they have a big cookout and a softball game. So both my mother and my grandmother had an opportunity to meet the Carters. My sister's name was Rosalind. His wife was Rosalind. And they were very fond of each other. So this past week has been very emotional for the family. My brother and I have been on conversations talking about these experiences. But again, we just want to pay tribute to a man that so many are saying left the world better than he found it.
Okay, if you can put up a slide, and as you put up a slide, I'll talk a little bit about it, each one if I could. Okay, this slide here, this was in I want to say maybe 78 or 80. I'm not really sure the exact date, but these are publishers of the NNPA, the National Newspaper Publishers Association, the Black Press of America, sitting around the table with President Jimmy Carter. He invited the publishers to come to the White House because he wanted to hear what Black America had to say. And in this picture, if you can look closer, I can name a couple of them. I can't name all of them. A lot of them are going on to glory. But if you go to the right, aside from the sister who's sitting there, I think that was the stenographer, the one who's taking notes for President Carter. But the gentleman next to her is Calvin Rolock. He was the publisher of the Lord have mercy, Denise Rolock's paper, the Washington Informer out of Washington, D.C. Next to him is Brother Tommy Watkins. Tommy has 5 newspapers out of New York, the Weekly Challenger, the New York, and 5 of them. And next to him is our daddy, Levi Henry, sitting next to Tommy Watkins. The gentleman with his head down, I can't really see, so I don't want to miscall his name. From that point on, the other brother, I don't know his name, but Sharif is next to him. From that part on, those publishers from Daddy's right all the way around the table, they are all going on to glory. Yeah, but that was a significant moment for the NNPA.
Now, I got to ask you, was this one of the first times that the NNPA had been invited to the White House with the sitting president?
No. The NNPA has always, well, not always, has had occasions with the president, right? But that was, to my knowledge, because of the connection with my daddy. Yeah.
Okay.
But okay. As you can see here, this is one of our earlier papers. I think it's 19. Can you pull it up? Can't see? Okay. But this is when President Jimmy Carter came to the Elks Lodge in Fort Lauderdale. I had the opportunity to, when they had security all around the place. Mm-hmm. And so I went outside and was trying to come back in through the side door where the other bar was. And I kept pushing on it. When I pushed on it, the guy pushed back. So finally he snatched the door open, and it was the CIA agent.
Secret Service.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but that was him in Fort Lauderdale. Okay. Now the only sister in this photograph is Pat Foreman. Pat was working for Bell South back in the day, and that was in 1980. And they were asking, who did you favor for president? And Pat Foreman, at the time, her name, she said that she always wanted to meet Jimmy Carter because of his personality and who he was. He was such a gentleman. And that's a local person. She's still here. As a matter of fact, her husband, Dan Ford, he delivers our papers at 80-something years old. He enjoys doing that. He's the peanut man. He's the fruit man.
Yes, he is.
Yes. He is the man. So that's our local tie-ins to Jimmy Carter, and there are a lot more, but those are the ones we just pulled up recently.
But if Jimmy Carter went to the Elks, need I say any more?
Nope.
I mean, that says it all right there. Him and Dr. Carter, I mean, they had the help.
That was the time.
Yeah.
But again, the cocoon and the peanut, there's so many similarities and so many differences, but they all come together as we do as a people, and we should, not only amongst black folk, but we need to spread our love out. There's an interconnectedness that we need to be aware of. And again, I talked extremely harsh about the situation with the Green Machine marching band, but on the other side of that, those that will support that, is still supporting our HBCUs. I don't necessarily like the fact that they're having to fund their own way to this particular function when that person didn't give a hoot or a financial backing, very little, to the HBCUs, and spoke harshly against squashing the debt. School debt. So it's just a bitter pill. The other thing, as we talk about transformation, and this goes for all of us. When I spoke to those students at Miami Central, we had a down to earth father to children, if you will, or older man to younger people, and it was open. I was surprised at some of the questions that they asked, but they were extremely respectable. Yet they had their own outlook or perception of what a journalist and media was. A lot of them say they got their information from TikTok, and of course I went in deep on that, and we had a joyful conversation. Mm-hmm. So we still have work to do.
And so much work to do, Bobby. You and I are products of when people like L.C. Hastings would come to our high school and speak to us. And as you know, we try our best to engage in those opportunities as often as they're offered to us, especially now here at the Old Dillard Museum, when we've been able to have conversations with the Black student unions in our local high schools. And I believe that our children are really, in their own way, crying out. They want to hear from us. They want to be nurtured. They want to feel loved. And they want to know their history. Besides from how they've been sheltered through social media and this digital age, and being kind of born with a little iPad or a digital device in their hands and giving more screen time to that than they have to auntie them, grandma them, pop them. So at any given time, whenever we are in a position to be in their presence and open up and just show them love and allow them to ask us questions, I believe that they'll at some point want to engage even more. My wife, my daughter has friends, and they have children along the same age of my grandchildren. And they used to come over every Thanksgiving, and then there was a time where we hadn't seen them in a couple of years, and we were like, well, "What's up? Where y'all at?" Oh, we missed that sweet potato pie. And when they're there, we get a chance to really conversate, and we get a chance to talk to them and bond and socialize with them and find out what's going on in their life. So we don't do as much historical conversating as we should, but I believe that's coming. What they say, you gotta first catch it before you can clean it or expose it to the lifestyle, the history. But as we pour into our children, their friends are going to get it. And as Sister Lumpkins was saying, her house, that's where everybody wanted to come. And oftentimes I feel the same way a lot of my children's friends and their kids now, they want to be around to hear the stories and be a part of, and feel the love and eat the food and
engage. Yeah. I said this, and my son and his wife. I think was it Thanksgiving, because I had cooked the hog. I think it was Thanksgiving, and they had friends to come over, and the diversity, and who I am. I am who I am, So I had I cooked this hog, and their friends had come over. One was from Dominican Republic. One was a biracial kid. One was I think Val was Cuban. I think Val is Cuban. So we had a diverse group, and they were all friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and we had conversations. I didn't know I didn't know how I appeared to my sons, and my daughter-in-law, if I was embarrassing them or whatever. But we had one of the best times, and it was, and they are still friends today. I'm saying all that to say this: when it's true and when it's right, and when food's involved and it's good, and it's good, it's worth fun. I see Perry is back. The conversation that we had with Perry when he brought that news on about the possibility of
that breaking news.
Yeah,
that breaking news.
Yeah.
Perry, you want to share that breaking news with the rest of the viewers?
Oh, the breaking news is about an hour ago. About an hour ago, the Supreme Court rejected President-elect Trump's request to have his sentencing delayed. They had it initially set aside because Trump initially wanted the court to put it aside until after the election. And so now here it is after the election. His proposal was now, let's do it after I leave office. And with the Supreme Court, who recently decided the immunity case in favor of the president, that the president has total immunity, the consensus was that the court was going to go along with him. But in this case, the court didn't, and Chief Justice Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett both decided that this was not a case that inflicted any pain on the president, that his case had run its due course. So this means, and what the technicality of that is that I just learned this a few hours ago, is that it is not until you are sentenced that you are considered by law a convicted felon. Just because the verdict was laid down did not make him a convicted felon. It was once he has accepted sentencing that he now becomes a felon. And so that becomes a key point, because he will, by the letter of the law, enter office as a convicted felon. Now, he still will have the right to appeal and go that route, but he will, according to the law, enter, will be inaugurated as a convicted felon. And that is key.
Breaking news.
Okay, so let's see if we can wrap our minds around this. The presumptuous, what is that? Is that the one? No, he is the incoming president, correctly?
President-elect.
President-elect, right? However, he, the Supreme Court has said that they will honor, if you will, or uh, they won't sentence him, but they'll charge him and convict him. Is that what I'm understanding?
Right. The judge has says that there won't be he won't serve any jail time or there won't be any punitive uh repercussions for him. But I do think that uh attorney Alvin Bragg was correct that it is not just uh a matter of withholding the law, but you know, this is in effect an attempt to overturn the decisions of the 12 people who were in the jury.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, that crosses a real thin line that now you have juries who can give sentencing and now it'd be overthrown and the court said they weren't willing to go that far.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Powerful.
Okay.
So Perry, let's go back to that brother Bragg in New York, man, because he has done something. I mean, you tell me your opinion, but I don't think anybody saw that coming. That he would be
No,
successful in this case.
no. And he was
Out of
very methodical and quiet about
Mm.
out of all the cases that 45 was brought up
it. Yeah,
on, I think everybody felt this was likely unlikely to really stick.
yeah, yeah.
Well.
So Alvin Bragg is to be applauded for staying the course
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, you know, you have to understand that there was a lot of challenges professionally he would have faced, and everyone really thought that and everyone thinks that is your motive, is that this is going to be your feather in your cap, but he proved that this was just about the case. And I
Okay.
think his ability to shy away from talking about it in the media and doing all of the other social media things that are now happening, I think helped that case in the process as well.
Okay. I see one of our viewers, Mr. Wesley Boyd, and Wesley, we know you're gonna bring up something. What Wesley said, Trump got was that complexion, protection. Devils don't lock up devils.
Can always count on Wesley Boyd.
We can count on Wesley.
Complexion protection.
Complexion protection. That's right.
Devils don't lock up
Devils
devils.
don't lock up
But
devils. Henry. Mhm.
man, I know I was gone, but I do want to. There was one comment that really caught my attention. I don't know if you guys talked about it, but it was from a good brother I know, Bobby Henry Jr. And
Mhm.
he said, "What's in response?" We were talking about kids today, and he said, "What's even crazier is the attention spans are getting shorter, so it's hard to catch their attentions and keep it. So to move our younger generations, we have got to get smarter." And I couldn't say that even more.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know, one of the things my dad used to say was that people, we all applaud Methuselah
For the
living
long age.
long age.
Mhm.
But if you just apply simple arithmetic, you will find out that Methuselah died in the flood. So my dad said,
Mm.
what sense does it make to live that long and not understand the
Oh
science?
man, come on, man, come on, man. That's deep. Come on.
That's deep though.
Yeah, yeah. Oh Lord.
After having seen the Lord all that time, Methuselah still couldn't understand the Lord in that time.
Lord have mercy. Okay. Hey Perry,
Stick that in your cap. That was just
I
that's
got
just some old Perry
no.
Busby Jr. wisdom.
One of our shows, we got to have a wisdom and willingness portion. Just talk about some things
Yeah,
and bring up our fathers and mothers. Uh,
Yeah,
pearls of
yeah, but I
wisdom.
never
pearls of
forgot that.
wisdom.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's,
our viewers and
Lamp
listeners,
of wisdom.
our viewers
Yeah.
and listeners, that book, if you will, send us in some of your pearls of wisdom from your parents, and we can begin to add that to the conversation that we're going to have about this little book, this little
yeah.
149-page book written in 1889 by William C. The president of Alabama A&M University back in the day, way back. He was a slave,
Mm-hmm.
and he wrote a book, Pearl Wisdoms.
William H. Counsel. Yeah.
William H. Counsel, yeah. And we're going to have that conversation dealing with that book. You'll think.
Well, it comes a time this year, 2025. I'm following suit for my dear brother Perry Busby, and there's just certain times when we've been given certain assignments and projects that we must find a way to complete. And I'm here to say that I'm going to have to take a sabbatical from the show. There's been some promotions and some things that have been added to my plate that I feel truly blessed about. I thank the Lord for all that He's done for me and all He continues to do. But it's going to require that I do take some time away from the show. I'm going to miss it dearly. I look forward to these Thursday nights. But I pray I'm not going too long, and I'll always be in close proximity with my dear brothers. So to the 2 Minute Warning family, y'all, I'm going to be missing and out of action for a minute, but please keep me in prayer, and I look forward to seeing you back real soon.
Oh, man.
All
All
right.
these turkeys, they do their thing, and they have to leave to go get rejuvenated to allow God to pour some more into their spirits, and then they come back. So,
Yeah.
I see Sandra says you'll surely be missed.
Well, that's a hint, clue there, boy. We might be looking for.
Come on, Sam. Yeah. But another thing before we close out, if we could bring up a link. We started a show a little while ago and we raised some funds for Harry T. and Henrietta V. Moore, and what their life was all about. So we're putting up a link. If you are moved or concerned about knowing the history that resides right here in the state of Florida, one of the first martyrs, husband and wife team to be killed for civil rights. That was Harry T. and Henrietta V. Moore. This is the link of their GoFundMe page. Whether it's $1, 50 cents, $50, $100, whatever you can do. We're going to have a continual fundraiser, if you will, so we can help to get this
that's what
film made. Yeah, to help get this film made. So, if you will.
Yeah, this is a very important documentary. Bobby and I both had kind of co-signed on this to be a part of the fundraising efforts. We have a great documentary individual in the name of our dear sister Sister Dean down in here in South Florida. But their story epitomizes all of what the civil rights movement was. They were one of the first martyrs to die because of their great efforts and their great work. So. And this story is in so many ways untold. It hasn't made it to the mainstream yet. We've talked about the 6888 and all of the Tuskegee Airmen, but this, in our opinion, exceeds all of that. It equals that, if not exceeds it. So we really have to put our hearts, our minds, and our resources behind causes such as these.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And guys, And 2 minute warning, family. Before we go tonight, I know I was gone for a second. It was a little funny, you know. It's about to get into the low 20s here in Arizona, and
Ooh.
so
Mm.
you know, so we having to learn how to move a little different in this winter, and so my wife was cooking and the heat was on and it blew a switch and everything, but that really, and so that was just kind of like the fun part of it. But just keep my children in your prayer because we received word during that time that they now have to evacuate from their
Whoa.
buildings. And so they're saying it's just precaution, but yeah. So uh, just letting it before the saints, keep the children in
Mm-hmm.
prayer.
Yes,
So
Lord.
it is definitely impacted them in some
What's
way.
their names, Perry?
Chelsea, Michael, and my granddaughter is Aubrey. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so they you know, my son was staying with a coworker, my daughter was staying with another friend, and so I mean, you just know, I mean, again, you're thankful for open doors, but you definitely don't want to be a burden, and so just navigating these times, is what I tell them, and so.
All
But
right.
yeah, but especially with my granddaughter, so she's concerned because she's gotten word through social media that they concerned at the school that her school may get burned. So, and I do know, because I work with a company that works in the education space, and I do know several of our customers have personally been impacted. So yeah, man, this is impacted, you know, I mean, more than communities, man. I don't think we can even fathom. I was just looking, they just reported that over 5,300 structures have been destroyed, and that includes homes, schools, uh, grocery stores. They were saying even if some communities are making it, they don't have some of the resources because that's been destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Rafferty.
Man, this is really wild.
Mm-hmm. Definitely keep you in prayer.
Yep.
How good, brother? You gonna close us out?
Yeah, I can do that. All right. As we close, let's reflect on the symbols of the peanut and the cocoon. The peanut, representing Jimmy Carter, reminds us of the unseen aspects of growth hidden beneath the surface, yet enriching the soil for new life. The cocoon, on the other hand, represents the visual stages of transformation, from its tough exterior to its delicate transparency, showing us that the change is both tangible and intangible. Now, also, I want to add this to it. There was an experiment done with a cocoon, several cocoons. They had about 1,000 cocoons in a laboratory. And one scientist was so eager to hurry up and get these beautiful butterflies to come out of the cocoon that he ran around with a secto knife, putting slits in each cocoon so he would help the butterflies escape. And the world will be filled with 1,000 more beautiful butterflies. But in his effervescence and his eagerness to want to do this, what he did was he caused the butterflies to come out deformed. Some of their wings were elongated, some of them were shortened and wrinkled up and crinkled up. They couldn't fly. when they went back to study what had happened, it was discovered that while the cocoon struggles, the butterfly struggles within the cocoon to come out, its body produces a lubricant that allows its wings and its body parts to develop from the struggle. And so, in putting that slit, wanting to help to ease the struggle, he caused that much more deformity. So, let us be mindful that when we raise our kids, that though we have to punish them, let us not be worried about how they're going to feel from the punishment, but just the fact is to inhibit, no, it's to allow them to grow and to become all that they can. I love you all, and there ain't a doggone thing you can do about it. God bless you.
Good night.